girls. There are a couple teachers in this room that called you a magician yesterday. And I thought that was so sweet. But the real performers and the real talent is right here, and we're going to listen to it now, right? Good afternoon, everybody. So, my group of second graders here this afternoon are ready to share the story of Stick and Stone with you. So if you click the QR code on the music stand down there, it'll explain what I'm doing, but in a nutshell, here's what we did. We took the story Stick and Stone, and then we put music to it, and then the kids created all their own actions and props and movements. So it's very much a second grade show. They've created those things. The song Best Friends, I taught them, and then I had them make all their own rhymes. So they chose to have the dog have fleas. Now I probably would have made the dog say bark or something boring like that. So when you see them all scratching, that's part of their rhymes that they made up, which is really cool. So they're in charge for the next 30 minutes. Are you guys ready? So every class will play an instrument part and be featured on the stage, as well as singing here. So let's get the show on the road. So my
friendship, courage, and kindness. This is the story of Stick and Stone.
Stick lived on one side of the river. Stone lived on the other side.
Stick, stone, lonely alone. The 0, the 1, alone is no fun.
Stick, stone, along comes pine cone, makes fun of stone, won't leave him alone. That's just what sticks do. Friends do it too.
Stick and stone, no longer alone. Stick and stone, a friendship has grown.
They wander, explore, lays by the shore. And thunder and rain. A loud hurricane! Stick is windblown. Stick. Search night, no stick in sight. What's that? A huge puddle? Stick stuck in the muddle. Stone rescues him quick. You rock, Stone, says Stick. That's just what stones do. Best friendship rocks too. Stick, stone, together again. Stick, stone.
So everybody take your hands up and then flip them at the top and hold them so your folks can get a picture with both hands. All right, everybody smile really big so everyone can get a picture. Okay, now put your hands down and smile really big so they can get a picture. Everybody with their hands down. Okay, and then one funny smile, real quick. Go! All right, everybody wants a silly one. So, boys and girls, well done. We're done with the sillies. Shh. Second grade, one quick thing before I let everybody go. Because I don't know if you know, but there's gorgeous paintings around the room that have sentences from Stick and Stone right behind their heads. And Mrs. Smith, our art teacher, she came up with this really clever idea to have the kids make the art. So she took the sentences and then she installed them all along here. So those are all second grade made. The pine cones and the sticks and the stones are all second grade made. And this is a very second grade wonderful performance. So I'm very proud of them and delighted that you could come out and share it with us on a